HTC Tech Wave.
Welcome to HTC Tech Wave, everyone, the podcast brought to you by HTC Global Services, HTC Next. I'm Ahalya, your host for today. And on today's episode, we're looking at a tech advancement that has the potential to reshape the future of work by enhancing human productivity. And when I say enhance, I mean revolutionize the way that we work by seamlessly integrating AI with human tasks to improve efficiency and creativity. I'm talking specifically about AI Copilots. But what is an AI Copilot and how does it differ from, traditional AI tools? And how do AI Copilots impact modern workplaces? Well, those are all of the questions we're going to be unpacking, and also the challenges that AI Copilots present, the ethical considerations at play, always an important nuance of any conversation, including AI, and what the future holds for AI-driven collaboration. It's a fascinating topic, and I need help unpacking it. That's why we've got our guest today on HTC Tech Wave, who's going to help us do just that, Rajeev Bhuvaneswaran, Vice President, Digital Transformation and Innovative Services at HTC Next. Hi, Rajeev. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Thanks, Ahalya. Very, very glad to be here.
Pleasure is all ours. So, Rajeev, let's kick things off with a pretty basic question, right? What are AI Copilots? And I think let's unpack that first one of how they differ from the AI tools we have seen before, because AI has been a big part of the productivity conversation in the workplace. And I think some real life examples where AI Copilots are making a difference in industries as we speak would be helpful for people to understand what we're dealing with here.
Absolutely. So, simply put, AI Copilots are intelligent assistants that works alongside us humans, right? Think of AI Copilots as that a really smart intern who never sleeps, doesn't drink all the coffee that you were keeping for yourself, and won't steal your lunch from the office fridge, right? So AI Copilot is like having your own personal assistant. We have seen some of these in the movies like Jarvis from Iron Man, minus the sassy British accent, unless you want the Copilot to have one, right? We've seen some of these incarnations in the past, not so smart, but Siri is a good example of how we've been using a Copilot with us. It's not been that smart, but with you might have noticed recently Apple introduced Apple Intelligence. That's making Siri much more smarter. And that's a really good example of an AI Copilot, to be honest, right? And the idea here is that the Copilot is going to help us enhance our capabilities rather than replacing us, right? Or our specific skills. If you contrast that with, traditional AI tools that often perform very, very specific tasks, what Copilots are bringing to the table is more versatile, more context aware. They understand all the elements that we bring to the table and then provide very specific solution to the things that we're doing. And to be honest, a lot of these things have happened because of a lot of the LLMs, the large language models that has revolutionized the space. For example, with OpenAI, ChatGPT, or Claude Sonnet. All of these have become so really good at providing a lot of this information to assist us. That has really helped us. And today we see this with a lot of devices. For example, the new iPhones that have been released is going to have Apple Intelligence within that, embedded within it, understanding all of our context to provide this information. Google has done it with the Pixel phones. Microsoft has this Copilot Plus PCs. These provides a lot of context-aware AI and providing that directly into everyday tasks. So in software development, GitHub Copilot is a classic example of assisting programmers. So it provides you code snippets, it provides you sometimes entire functions, and the developers can basically look at this and figure out which pieces they want to take and take the assistance from the Copilot. If you look at customer service type of scenarios, typically the representatives are looking up some knowledge information, whereas Copilots can now provide real-time information suggesting responses. And another example is in healthcare. AI Copilots are assisting the doctors with certain diagnoses. It can pull in a lot of information from different sources and then provide an appropriate treatment plan based on the patient's data and the latest medical research. Some of these things the doctors may not have considered. Now it gives you a lot of these options, and then doctors can pick and choose and provide that information. I hope this gives you a quick idea of what AI Copilots are.
It does, and it also feels endlessly exciting because you suggested that they could have accents, and now I'm just thinking about what accent I might want my future AI copilot to have. I think I'll go with French. What about you? If you could pick any accent, what do you think it would be?
Oh, I'd probably go with something like an Indian accent. It can be very interesting, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Diverse as they come.
True.
But I do want to pick on one particular point that you brought up just now, Rajiv, which seems pretty important, right, when talking about the case of AI copilots, and that is their ability to enhance capabilities rather than replace them. So in terms of human productivity, how is that happening? Can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question. I feel that AI copilots are going to significantly boost the human productivity. It's going to help us automate some of the routine tasks. It's going to provide instant access to some of the relevant information and also offer a lot of intelligent suggestions as we go through our day-to-day jobs. It could be
Mhm.
writing a document. It could be, creating a report, any of those kind of things. It's going to provide a lot of these things to aid us. So the way I look at it is, think of it as like a force multiplier, right? Allowing us to focus on higher value work so that, the mundane stuff can be taken over by the AI copilot. Now, at some point, yes, it's possible that there is a path towards artificial general intelligence or AGI, which can possibly completely replace some of the human work. That hasn't happened yet, and it's a long ways from now. But until that time, the co-pilots are going to leverage the power of LLMs and other algorithms to get us more productive and more effective in anything that we do. So that's what I think is going to happen in the near future as well. So some examples I can give you, like in content creation, the AI copilots can generate a lot of the drafts, it can suggest edits, it can help in the research activities, and it will allow the writers to kind of focus on their creativity, their ideas and things like that, rather than focusing on exactly how to structure some of these things. So this produces a lot of high quality work. Right. In data analysis, this is something that we do quite often, like within our HTC Image platform, as well as within the work that we do for our customers. We are doing a lot of data analysis work, and we have to sift through vast amounts of information. We have to then extract key insights, and all of these becomes a very challenging situation. We can now do that much more rapidly with these kind of copilots that is going to really produce much better and informed decisions, right?
Mhm.
And another area I can think of is like in financial services.
Right.
Co-pilots are assisting in summarizing these reports and collecting a lot of this information that would have taken weeks and weeks to digest and transform. So this is where I think co-pilots are going to be very, very helpful. It will help us in providing various options and suggestions, but the final decisions and the creative direction will have to come from the human user. So I'm not really looking at anything that's going to replace us at this point. It's going to be a tool like any other tool that we've been using to improve our efficiencies, improve our productivity. And that's what we have been always striving for. So I think this still helps us get that unique human perspective into all the things that we do, but do it much more efficiently. And our human expertise will still remain central to the work process, that we do. And AI copilots will help in this direction, is what I feel.
Okay, given that AI copilots and the concept are quite new, Rajiv, I would like to also talk about the flip side, right? With anything new, there are concerns. And like I said at the beginning of the podcast, ethical concerns are always something that are spoken about and should be when it comes to the conversation of AI. So when we're looking at AI copilots, what are the ethical concerns or the pressing issues that businesses may encounter, and how can this effectively be navigated?
Yeah, very, very good question earlier, right? I mean, this is the biggest challenge that we see with AI copilots is one that we talked about earlier in terms of, hey, is it going to replace us versus is it going to be a productivity booster? But some of the challenges that we're going to be facing, I can talk a little bit about this in terms of, data privacy and security, for example. A lot of these AI copilots need a beefy hardware to run, which means that it's going to run somewhere in a cloud environment. And this then produces a lot of data privacy and security issues, right? Because we are talking about a copilot that is context aware. which means that it needs to understand all of our preferences, and it's creating a model out of all of our things, which is something that needs to be private, which means how do we navigate this in terms of ensuring the privacy and security. Then that's going to be a key thing. The other aspect is it going to create a lot of over reliance on some of these things that it's doing, where we kind of lose our critical thinking skills or creativity? That's a challenge that a lot of customers and a lot of people that I talk to are worried about. And one more element is about biases. The copilots is, bringing in information from various sources, and some of these things can have an existing prejudices within that knowledge base, and that can skew some of the, suggestions that it's making. And this needs to be properly monitored and corrected. If not, it could veer in a different direction. Finally, there are concerns about transparency and accountability when an AI copilot is contributing to a particular decision or output. Who is responsible for those results? You will get into a situation where somebody is saying, I just depended on Copilot, and that is why I provided that response, right? So it's going to be very, these are some of the challenges. And, like somebody said, biggest problem with the Copilots is teaching them to understand sarcasm. I mean, what could possibly go wrong there, right? But so now that I talked about these challenges, I mean, obviously, I need to also tell you, how we are navigating these complexities, right? We need to implement clear guidelines for AI Copilot use, so that we can invest in really good, robust data protection measures and provide clear training to employees on how to best use the AI Copilots, right? So this is where we are trying to do this in the HTC Next MAGE platform. We are looking at how do we handle all of these ethical concerns and biases. We have brought together, the real final aspects of the ethical and usability principles, and we have created what we call humane AI in the MAGE platform. So we create an ethical guide that's delivering very responsible AI solutions. And we test it against about 7 fundamental principles for responsible AI, ethics of artificial intelligence, and AI governance, so that we can address all of these challenges.
Fantastic, Rajeev. Thank you very much for helping us unpack all of that. A couple of ethical considerations that, maybe people haven't thought about before. And good to know that we've already begun working towards how to solve these issues, right, for the future. So as we look into the future, how do you really see the role of AI copilots evolving in the workplace? And like we've been discussing, it starts off now as an enhancement rather than a replacement. But do you think that role is kind of a moving goalpost?
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, see, right now, the way it is changing is so rapid in terms of, all the LLMs and all of those elements that's coming in. The technology is moving at a really, really rapid pace, right? So I think that it's going to become increasingly sophisticated, and it's going to get a lot more integrated into our daily work. Our phones and devices are going to get really smart. All of the tools that we use, whether it be Microsoft Office or Google, documents and things like that, all of them are going to get a lot of these copilots built into it. Right. And that's going to also, I think we're going to see a lot of personalization as part of this as well, that can adapt to our working styles and preferences. So, for example, some of these AI copilots can infer from your documents, your writing style, and then produce, all the things in the same style, right? Whether it be professional, whether it's lighthearted, all of those elements it's going to consider. So that's something that I think is going to happen in the future. And my feeling is that it's going to expand into more creative fields. It's going to do a lot more with respect to visual design, strategic planning, all of these different elements where we thought that a tool will not really be able to come in and help. It is going to really expand into those areas. But within all of these contexts, again, I want to stress the fact that I think at this point, based on all that I have seen in the industry and how the progress is being made, I do not think it is going to take over or replace us, but it's going to be a assistive role. And I think we will have a really great symbiotic relationship. This is going to be a key element of AI copilots as we go into the future, as we navigate how we implement all of these in a very responsible manner as well.
Whenever it comes to working with something or someone, like now we've got AI copilots, it's a tool, right? So how can the success of this tool be measured? I think that's also an important thing to probably we discuss? Are there certain metrics or indicators that are in place to measure the success and effectiveness of AI copilots?
Yeah, I was talking to somebody the other day, about the same thing, and I was
Mm-hmm.
telling them that, I think the one key metric that you need to measure is the face palm reduction rate, right? The moments when you realize you've been staring at a problem for hours and the solution was right in front of you, that's what, AI Copilot really helps you solve. So, but on a serious note, I mean, basically the
Mm-hmm.
businesses should focus on both quantitative and qualitative metrics, right? Like anything else that you do. So quantitatively, we should look at how do we track productivity indicators? How much time are we saving on the task? What is the volume of work that's been completed? And what are the error rates that we are seeing by implementing this kind of a copilot? And then qualitatively, let's assess the impact on the work quality. How much is it contributing to the employee satisfaction? This we can do that through feedback sessions, any kind of surveys that we can do in this space so that we can collect all of this information, right? Few of the things that we could look at is successful AI suggestions. That means that when it's making these recommendations, how often are it actually being used?
Mm-hmm.
So this can really be a feedback loop that can go into it to improve some of these elements that it does. The complexity of the task that can be handled with AI assistant is that growing as we go through this progression of this, right? And
Right.
finally, how long does it take for an employee or an associate to get onboarded onto these Copilot tools, acquire the skills, and truly leverage the Copilot to do their tasks that they set out to do, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, these are the critical things that we should be looking at from a metric perspective earlier.
Fantastic. It's been a great conversation so far, Rajiv, but I think it's a good time also to switch gears because we're going to hit you with a rapid fire now. Going to keep you on your toes. As the name suggests, rapid fire means quick answers to my quick questions. So one sentence or one word only. Do you think you're ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay, all right. Question number one. One industry that you feel will benefit most from AI copilots.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's healthcare. I think the ability to diagnose, prepare a treatment plan and in the research can be a game changer.
Okay, first AI copilot task you would delegate.
Well, I'll try to convince my boss why I'm late to work. But jokes aside, I mean, I think things like data analysis, pattern recognition, decision making, those are the things I think that I would delegate.
I mean, even the first one is a pretty serious thing in a part of a work day, Rajiv. So that's a good answer. Okay. If AI copilots had a catchphrase, what would it be?
I'm here to help, not to judge your browser history.
That's fair enough. The friend you want,
Yes.
always. Okay, question number four. So you did mention creativity, empathy, and ethical judgment, right? So according to you, which Hollywood film or TV series has come closest to a realistic portrayal of AI? So we've got to name the best, but also the worst.
Yeah, I think the closest would be her. Her.
Hmm.
When I saw the OpenAI announcement, I thought it was so eerily similar to what they predicted. The bad ones, I think there are too many of them to name. There are a lot of these ones where the robots are chasing humans. I never understood that, but there are many of them, I think, in the bad category.
Yeah, the complete opposite to everything we've been discussing today, right? So, yeah, definitely there. But, thank you for bringing her back into all of our memories because what a fantastic film. And finally, you did talk about how AI co-pilots are intelligent assistants that work alongside human beings, enhancing their capabilities, right? Rather than replacing them. We've spoken about this in the conversation. So, if AI could take over one of your least favorite tasks, what task would that be?
I mean, it has to be attending like unnecessary meetings and summarizing emails. I would think that'll
Uh-huh.
be that'll be on the top of my list.
Absolutely. So those were some very interesting answers. I have to say, Rajiv, you did very, very well in that rapid fire round. It's been a wonderful conversation, honestly. Definitely needed you to help us understand what we're looking at when it comes to AI copilots. So as we end today's conversation, Rajiv, would you mind, taking it away and giving us a short summary of today's discussion?
Sure. So, in summary, I would say, AI copilots represent a very significant leap forward in how we approach work. how it's going to improve our productivity, enhance our capabilities. So it's not going to be like any other tool that we have used in the past. It's going to be acting like a true partner to us, right? So that's the key thing that I wanted to convey. And finally, that this is going to be a key to harness the power of all the AI stuff that we're working on while still maintaining the critical human elements like creativity, empathy, ethical judgment, and things like that. But I also need to point out that I think the future of the work is not about humans versus AI, but humans and AI working together to achieve more. And I think it's in our hands to how to make all of that happen.
Absolutely. I love that. That's a great note to end the podcast on. Thank you so much, Rajeev, for joining us. I have to say, for anyone who was interested in it but didn't know where to start, I think this podcast is a good place to start. And for anyone who was familiar with it, now this is a good launch point to sort of take their investigation into AI copilots a lot further. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Alia. It was great to be here and have a great conversation about AI copilots. I believe they're truly transforming the landscape, and exciting to think about where this technology is headed. So thank you again for all of the session and all the interesting questions.
Likewise, pleasure having you on the podcast. And thank you so much to everyone listening as well. Really hope that today's episode of HTC Tech Wave has given you some exciting thoughts to sort of ponder over and take forward, because AI copilots, as we've discussed, are really shaping the future of work. That's all for today. Make sure to join us on the next episode of HTC Tech Wave as we continue to explore the frontiers of technology and artificial intelligence. For now,
HTC TechWave.